We're going back to Ren and Stimpy, folks! Judging by the view counts that we normally get on these things, yeah, I think you guys want to see a little bit more Ren and Stimpy content on the channel, so who am I to refuse? Here we go, folks! Probably the most positive Ren and Stimpy video I've made thus far. There's been a lot of discussion going around as to what Ren and Stimpy episodes are good and which ones are bad. Some people have been wondering whether or not the games animation episodes of Ren and Stimpy are good or not. For those who don't know what this is, after series creator and serial pedophile John Kricfalusi was kicked off the show, Nickelodeon had games animation take over the production of Ren and Stimpy. And a lot of fans are kinda mixed. Some say that they're really good, some say that they're quite the opposite. But I gotta say, I don't get the hate for these at all. I totally respect if you don't like these things, but really? There's no way that this is considered one of the worst series declines ever. I mean, have you seen SpongeBob, or Drawn Together, or Fairly Odd Parents, or Jimmy Neutron, or Modern Family, or any of these other shows right here? So let's take a look at why I don't think the games animation episodes are necessarily a decline. Maybe they're not as good as the original episodes, but they're far from bad. So a lot of people say that the writing just gets a little bit weaker. Either they're trying too hard to recapture John K's crazy signature style, or they're just weird for the sake of weird and that's about it. I don't really see that. Of course, early on they were taking over some of the episodes that Spunko had originally produced before John K was removed, so naturally these episodes were going to be basically seamless from what John K created. But then when we get to seasons 4 and 5, that's where the big shift supposedly happens. And once again, I don't really see it. I think that episodes like A Scooter for Yaxmas, Reverend Jack, Sammy and Me, and all these others would fit right in line with the likes of Nurse Stimpy, Space Madness, and Fire Dogs. Once again, just because they're not quite as good doesn't mean that they're bad. That's like saying the episode Bubble Stand from SpongeBob is bad because it's not as good as Band Geeks. That's not really how that works, now is it? But there is one thing that a lot of people seem to comment on that, honestly, I kinda have to agree, is that seasons 4 and 5 especially, stuff like Blazing Entrails, a lot of people are kinda mixed on because it goes way too far in the gross out. Now, let's get one thing straight. I think we all know that Ren and Stimpy is huge on gross out. In fact, that's one of the reasons that the 90s became the gross out animation era. A lot of people saw what Ren and Stimpy were doing and saw that it was working, so they decided to jump right on board and copy them down to the T, except for the fact that they don't really understand how to get it right, but that topic's been hammered into the ground already. I can't really talk about it in an interesting way, so that's why I'm gonna stop talking about it right now. But yeah, I'd be lying if I said I didn't really notice that. It's kind of everywhere, and it's in a way that they try to force it in where it doesn't belong. It almost feels like a little bit of a crutch, or once again, the game's animation people trying to recapture what John K did. But even then, the gross out isn't that bad most of the time. If anything, it's just a little overused. But they don't ruin the show for me, they don't ruin even the episodes most of the time. But still, there are episodes like Ren's Pecs, Blazing Entrails once again, or Jerry the Belly Button Elf that just kind of make you go, alright, I see what you're doing. I respect the attempt, even if it's not necessarily working. But back to the good stuff, I'd say the creativity is just on point as it was in the original episodes. In fact, sometimes even more. My favorite episode of the entire show is actually Stimpy's cartoon show. I really like how it parodies the animation process, especially John K himself, which, now that we know all these awful things about him, it makes it so much more cathartic to see him just get slapped in the face by the writers of this episode. Good job, guys! But we've also got other episodes like Jiminy Lummox and Abe Divided, Circus Midgets, Reverend Jack, A Scooter for Yaxmas, and so many more. Really? It is a decline in quality. I will say that, but it's not really that bad. I'd go back to these episodes just as much as I would the originals. Honestly, with a minimal change in quality and the fact that Ren's voice changes, I wouldn't really know that the creator left midway through the show. I wouldn't have really thought anything of it. To me at least, the style doesn't change enough to really notice. It's still wacky, it's still crazy, and it definitely has its dark edge, even if it is a little bit lessened all across the board. So, yeah, I'd say the game's animation episodes are still pretty good. If you don't like them, that's okay, but if it's been a little while since you've watched them, I'd say check them out. Those episodes that I highlighted especially, because I think those will give you the best idea of what those seasons have to offer. But in my eyes, the game's animation episodes of Ren and Stimpy were not that bad. Well folks, thanks for watching the video. What'd you guys think? What did you think of the game's animation era? Did you like those episodes? Did you not? I want to hear what you have to say, which leads me to the next part. Comment below and let me know because I'm always excited to hear what you guys have to say. Real quick, I'd like to thank our Patreon executive producers, Reziel, Leaf Razor, Sylphie Burgers, Azarius, and Tanner Kapishki. If you too would like your name read at the end of every Media Mementos episode, then consider donating to our Patreon, which has a link in the description below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow! Yeah, that's right, Billy has an episode tomorrow, so I guess I'm not going to be seeing you, but still, it's 1 year since he came on board to Media Mementos, and we have a very, very special video in mind. That's why there's a mini coming out today. We have to fight that YouTube algorithm, right? Gotta keep our place. Alright guys, stay tuned tomorrow. It's gonna be a whale of a good time. That doesn't really fit, but you know, I guess it's underwater theme, just like, who cares?